even deeper than just like the squad or just friends, but knowledge. What does my circle look like in terms of knowledge? I know Andiswa has financial knowledge. I know Bonise has legal knowledge. I know so and so has this kind of knowledge, tech knowledge or whatever. For me, that's the circle,
Wow.
Because then it makes sense if I'm gonna go into something like that in future. Then I know who to look to, right? And I think the scariest place to be, where a lot of young people that find themselves in a very unconventional way of making money and all that, is not having the right squad, the right circle, the right
It's so important.
minds, or the right people around you, because then you get stuck.
Hi team, welcome back to another video, and thank you so much for joining me yet again. I really appreciate you guys and your support, and that is why I bring you interesting guests to have engaging conversations. If it is your first time here, thank you for joining us. Andiswa.mojapelo, and on this channel we talk about all things related to managing our money and adulting in general, because there's a lot that's encompassed in adulting. And today we have a guest. I'm always excited to have conversations with guests, and we're going to be talking about quite a number of things. We're going to be talking about purpose, we're going to be talking about finding your way, we're going to be talking about crafting your own journey that is purposeful and that leads you to where you need to be. And we're going to be discussing some bumps on the road that you can expect as well. So if that sounds like your type of conversation, definitely stay tuned in. But before we start, Grace, thank you for coming. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, Andiswa. My name is Grace Sibanda, and I am the founder of a consultancy firm, and also the founder of Wind of Heaven Foundation. I'm a social entrepreneur, and I'm just a passionate individual who is filled with purpose. And I hope I'll add value to this conversation.
I'm sure you will. I'm definitely looking forward to this one, guys. And the reason I'm looking forward to it is because although we talk about managing money, which is super important and will always be at our core, there's life, okay? And there's adulting, and there's a lot of things that are happening along the way. And it's always important that we engage in these conversations as well, right? As we journey to financial freedom, we're not doing it in one narrow view with nothing in between. So it's important to talk about business, to talk about passion, to talk about following what you truly want to do with your life and ending up there. So thank you so much for joining us, Grace, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, let's do this.
Guys, I've asked Grace to join us for this conversation, okay? Because if you a regular around here and you've watched some of our other videos, you will see that I've taken a bit of a turn to add how do we make an income, how do we build an income, and all of those other things over and above actually managing our money. Where does the money come from? Because that's also pretty important. And that's why Grace is here, because Grace has followed a non-conventional way of earning an income, and she's going to be unpacking all the details on her journey and what that was about. But before we get there, I always like to know more about the person. So Grace, tell us about you. Where are you from? What is Grace about, and what excites her?
Okay, that's an interesting question, a set of questions. So Grace is from Zimbabwe originally. I came to South Africa when I was very young. I think I was in primary school, and I kind of grew up here. I've lived in the Eastern Cape and Tata.
I didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah, I went to Zingisa High School, in case someone from there is watching this.
I definitely know of Zingisa High School. Okay.
Yeah, wearing those skirts, the holy skirts.
Okay.
Yeah, so I grew up partly in the Eastern Cape and mostly in Johannesburg. My varsity journey also started here, and my first experience around business also started here.
Did you move from Zim to South Africa? Did you move with family or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my father was here like from a very long time ago. So I just moved here to stay with him.
Okay, cool.
And then my mother later moved. That's how I ended up in the Eastern Cape and back in Joburg. And yeah, it's quite interesting. So yeah, I'm just a young Christian woman, very much grounded in values around faith, and I believe in purpose. I believe in pursuing everything that God has given me as a talent, and making sure that I make the best out of it. Yeah. So that is Grace, and
so that's how you ended up in Johannesburg. You and I have something in common in the sense that I was also born in Eastern Cape, and then moved to KZN to live there, and then moved to Johannesburg to work. So you and I have like some similarities there. Okay, cool. So that's Grace and where she's from. And then what happens after varsity?
Okay, so I basically studied varsity like everybody else. I finished matric, was a top learner. I got into, I don't know, am I allowed to mention the name of the university?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
Mention all names. It's a free environment.
Okay, I guess I'll name drop. So I got into Wits University. I did quite well in high school, so I got in through some scholarship thing for getting distinctions or something like that. And I studied law. Interestingly, I actually wanted to go into finance, but I ended up in law.
Okay.
And the whole time I was at Wits, I was sulking. I'm like, oh, I wanted to go to University of Pretoria. I wanted to go to University of Pretoria. But anyway, I made it work. I started out properly and everything. And then at some point, I couldn't continue with my studies because, as I mentioned, I'm originally from Zimbabwe and I was using a study permit. And my study permit expired at some point and I couldn't renew it. So I had to travel back and forth between Zim and South Africa to try and fix that. And it took two and a half years to 3 years or something in order to get it done. And during that time, that's when I looked into purpose more than just supposed to get this degree, and then after that, get into the working environment, the very conventional way of things happening, the straight line that was supposed to kind of
the one we were all taught about in high school, that you walk into primary, you go into secondary, and all of those things. And that's part of why sorry to cut you, that I wanted to have this conversation, because I think even when it comes to money, there's always an assumption that there's a salary, then you need to save, and then there's expenses, and you have your own family. Sometimes you have more to support than just your family. Sometimes you have to send money home. So there's these non-conventional things that happen around us and in our lives that don't necessarily meet the straight line that we want to go to. So yes, continue. So now you're in varsity, and then you obviously had some trouble graduating, in varsity. So you try and that doesn't work out.
So I had trouble graduating. Now I had a few modules that were left out, and that's what I had to finish. So now I got to a point where I was still like trying to fix the documents, until one day I was like, I'm not gonna lose a year and another year because Wits is like, we can't help you, you know. There's nothing anyone can do at that particular point. So that's when I started to look more into purpose, as I said earlier. And for me, that meant going back to the root and finding out, I'm not just a paper, I'm not just a law degree. I'm not just whatever degree that I find, but what else is there? So I went through
the situation and the circumstances is actually forcing you to now look at that. And it's so interesting because in many situations, and I mentioned this in one of my previous videos, which you should be watching, that often it's something unusual happening, or it's something challenging that happening that sort of shakes you into, okay, now let me change gears. Where do I go?
Yeah, because it's very easy, just to like divert a bit, it's very easy to fall into a place whereby you are defined by this one thing that you're pursuing, And that one thing could be business, it could be a job, it could be a degree in my case at that time. And I didn't realize, I thought I was so passionate, I thought I was still, very much grounded in purpose, only to discover when I couldn't get it, I'm like, wait, so what else is there? What else am I about?
What else can I do?
So that's when I started the organization. I started a non-profit organization called Wind of Heaven Foundation. And this was birthed out of a time, should I say, of prayer and seeking and trying to find, what else am I about. And that's when I came up with the whole plan and the whole structure of what the organization will look like, and of which I believe in the next 2 or 3 years you guys will see this whole grand vision and all that. So yeah, I started the organization, got it registered. I got a team of about 12 or 18 people. They believed in the vision. They were working on this vision on a volunteer basis. So that really pushed me through. And from there, I think it was in July of that same year. This is like 2019, 2020. COVID is 2020, right?
2020, yes.
2020, okay.
Feels like forever.
Yeah, it feels like forever. So 2019, the whole of 2019, I was pushing the organization and everything. So 2019, July, one of the ladies that I've been in contact with, because I'm very passionate about business, right? She's like, I need your help with ABC. Like, you know how people are. If you're studying accounting, I need you to check my finances. If you're studying law,
tell me about it.
If you're studying law, I need you to help me. I have this case, and half of the time before, I never knew what they were talking
it's
about.
like if you're studying, if you work for a specific company, I know
Yeah.
I have this a lot. When people know which company I work for, if you have an insurance there or if you have a life cover, it's always like, Andy, so maybe you should check
Can you please
check if I and it's not always the case. Okay, so cool. So to follow train of thought, we now at you discovering, okay, what do I then do? Because you wanted to get a formal job, but you couldn't because you didn't have the qualification. And then you don't have the qualification, and then you now have to dig deeper in terms of what am I passionate about?
Exactly.
What do I want to do? What can I do outside of this? And then you navigate that by starting the foundation, right, which allows you to live out your passion. Okay, that's actually where I've interacted and connected with Grace. Great foundation, and great purpose, I think. So you do that, and then in the midst of that, you then find. Okay.
Yeah. So in now at a point whereby I am fully running the foundation. It's doing well and everything.
Non-profit.
And
and how are you sustaining yourself during this time?
During this time, I don't think I had a way of saying that this is how I'm sustaining myself, but somehow I was able to make money here and there, maybe through buying and selling things, which wasn't working for me because I think I figured out that I'm very good at structuring. I'm not good at sales.
Okay.
Right. And I've concluded it's
and it's important to know what you're good and not good at. Okay, cool.
I'm not good at sales. So after discovering that, I had to let that go because I was like, it's not going to work for me. So now with the organization, it's a non-profit organization. We have funds needed in order for us to function and all that. And I don't believe in going after funds before the purpose is fully tried out. I believe in trying it out and making sure that whatever idea you have is quite sustainable, then you can go for funds. I then start thinking, okay, what will I do to make an income? Go back to the prayer room. Then I got this revelation understanding that in the Bible, Elijah meets the widow of Zarephath, and one thing he asks, even though she had needs, he asks her, what do you have? So it was about what she had. It was not about anything else. So she mentions that she has, I think she had oil only that was left, right? So then I go through a process where I'm asking myself, what else do I have? Then I realized through one of the ladies that I met through an entrepreneurship group that I have these skills. People keep asking me for legal advice. They keep asking me to look at contracts, to look at this, of which I'm not supposed to do until I finally get the right qualifications. So I keep turning them away, or I refer them to someone else, or I look into it, but I clearly state that no, this is not legal advice or anything.
And it can't be.
And it can't be legal advice. So I start thinking to myself, maybe I should start a consultancy company, right? And I consult with my mentor. I joined a mentorship group. I think this was now 2020 or towards the end of 2019. And in this mentorship group, it's hosted by judges, women judges in South Africa. And I meet one mentor. She specializes in family law. And she's really motivating and pushing me, to pursue my passions. And then I meet another mentor through LinkedIn, a really great person as well. She's still my mentor now. And she's also telling
you
me.
meet your mentor.
Okay.
I just want to pause there,
Yeah.
right? Because this is an educational channel.
Yeah.
And I always try, and when I mention something, like mention the back end that led to that.
Okay.
Because
definitely.
I otherwise andiswa will think mentors just fall, they just connect with you on LinkedIn. You seem to be meeting the right people at the right time. And obviously God has a part to play in it. I mean, there's only so much that we can manufacture ourselves. But how are you meeting these people?
Funny story, actually. I know a lot of people say that, the right people will come into your path, or the right things will come your way. There is a role that you have to play. If you don't put yourself out there, if you're not applying to be part of these programs, if you're not approaching people, then nothing is going to happen. You have a great vision, you have great potential, but that's where it ends. So how I met my first mentor, I joined the program. It's called South African Association of International Women Judges, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a mentorship program. How I got into that mentorship program, previously I had seen it at school, right?
Okay.
And seeing it at school, they had a specific mark threshold. You had to get like 75%
average
and above average or something. You had to be like, the
those
cream
averages,
of the crop.
guys. Those averages, yeah.
So you had to be the cream of the crop. And I looked at it, I was like, I'm not going to apply. Like, I don't think I meet the standard that they need. Then now I am at a point where I'm out of school. And I just decide one day I'm going to go visit this judge that once came to Wits. Her name is... Should I mention the name?
You can.
Okay. Her name is Judge Victor.
I think she deserves to be mentioned.
Yeah. So I decided I'm going to visit Judge Victor at the High Court, Johannesburg High Court. And I'm just going to get there and say, dude, I am out of school. I don't know what to do with the rest of my days. So do you have any ideas? So yeah, literally I get to court. I'm here to see Judge Victor. Like, do you have an appointment? No. I go up the stairs, take a lift at some point. I finally get to where the judge's chambers are, and sitting outside her office. Oh, by the way, I should mention, I convinced one of my very close friends, her name is Miranda, to come with me.
Okay.
And
on this mission of yours that has no plan, that has no destination.
No plan at all. And she thought I was crazy. But she was like, okay,
rightfully so.
I have faith in you. Let's just go.
Yeah.
It's like, but we don't have an appointment. Like, let's just go. We get there. We're sitting outside her office, and there's this wall that has judges that are great and all that. It's quite intimidating, but yeah. So we're sitting outside her office. The assistant or the clerk comes through, and he's like, "Do you have an appointment?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, okay. Why do you want to see the judge? I'm like, no, I just need to talk to her. I'm from Wits. Like, you were sent by Wits? No. No, I'm just a student. She once came to Wits, and I remember her name. I don't even know what she looks like.
You're telling this person that you want to give you access to the judge that you actually don't know. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know what.
So you're very honest, Grace.
I don't have her number. I don't have her email address. Okay, I didn't tell him about the number.
Okay.
So, and then he's like, okay, just wait here. And then he goes. After a few minutes, he comes back, and then he's like, the judge will see you in a few minutes. Please just wait for her. I'm like, okay. So, funny story. We walk into this boardroom, like it's a tiny boardroom between the two offices, the chambers and the office where the clerks sit. We walk into this boardroom table, and we're welcomed. They've set up coffee and biscuits and all that for us. You're welcome.
For us?
Yeah, for me and Miranda.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh wow. So after they saw that you're here, they actually set up.
They set up. I'm like, okay. So we sit down.
I'm just thinking I'll
and
prepare a feast before you.
imagine,
and look at that.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened, and she starts talking. We haven't said anything,
Okay.
right? I'm Grace, and then Miranda introduces herself, and then she just starts talking. Yeah, welcome. Yes, I remember the time I was at Birds, and she starts talking about a lot of things, and then she starts telling us about this program that we didn't know about.
Okay.
And she tells us about the program and everything.
By now,
and
has she asked you what you're doing here?
no,
Oh,
not
wow.
at all. She just she's dishing
Okay,
things out,
information.
And
okay.
and she's like, in June we have this happening and that happening, and she's like, okay, so I'm going to sign you guys up for the program if you want to, and then in June you can also partake and help with these activities and all that. You are basically going to be mentored by advocates and attorneys and all that. And I'm just sitting there, I'm
like you just
I look at Miranda, I'm like, I told you.
Sure.
So literally that's how I met Judge Victor, and then I met my other mentor, the one who specializes in family law, and Miranda met her mentor there, of which, as we speak right now, she's a candidate attorney at that mentor's law firm.
Wow.
Yeah, she got placed that way.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was one. Two, my current mentor, her name is Lele Modisa. She's not sure what she does, but anyway, she's the head of legal at the MTN group currently.
Wow.
MTN Africa group. She says I should clarify that.
Okay.
So how I met her was on LinkedIn. I sent her a message. I'm like, so this is what's happening. This is the vision I have. This is what I want to do. And currently I'm not in school because of my documents and all that. And she's like, okay, that's fine.
Did you do research on finding out who this person is and then just inbox them?
No, I didn't specifically search for the head of what or anything like that. So LinkedIn has this thing of matching you up with people
yes
way ahead of you or something like that. So she was recommended to me, and then after being recommended, now I had to take initiative and send her a message. And I sent her a message, and then she responded, and then we started speaking. And then she
it's so interesting you say that, because guys, I didn't know that. But in my unemployment video and getting opportunities, one of the tips that I gave the team is that reach out to people. Honestly, reach out. You've got nothing to lose, and you don't know if you're gonna have a feast prepared before you and opportunities flowing without even saying why you're there. And man, just humble yourself and reach out, because you never know what's going to come from that opportunity. And I didn't know that that's how you met your mentor, but I always thought it's such a great thing, because I've heard of people doing it now, and it's not something I was exposed to before. So kudos for you for actually taking the initiative.
No, definitely. So
you get that mentor.
I get her as a mentor. She basically says that I'll contact you in the next year. It was in December. So I'll contact you in the next year. I have a program that I do with these young women and everything. Like, oh, coincidence. So
is this how you find your programs? Because I feel like of my connections, Grace is one person who is into programs. If she's not sharing them on her page or on her Instagram, I'll link Grace's contact details in the description box. But if she's not sharing stuff, so I've always wondered how you get into the stuff. And also I think it's so important to note, because sometimes when you see international embassy, you're like, how am I gonna qualify there? It's very intimidating. So you don't think that you'll actually meet the criteria, especially when you see international, I think. And I know you've been involved in quite a number of those, so it's interesting to find out how you actually got into those opportunities. Okay, so you get into so you get your mentors, you kind of know what you want to do. So are you now thinking that are you now thinking through these opportunities that I can actually provide legal services before I qualify as a lawyer, or how is that going?
So one of them, which is Lele, she advises me to take things as they come. With the whole studying thing, I shouldn't stress about it. God will always make a way. And then I go back to this point where I'm now thinking, what else can I do, and everything like that. So as I'm thinking, the only thing I had was just the legal knowledge, and that's the only thing you can trade in.
From the theory that you learned in your studies.
That I learned in my studies, and the experience that I've had, because besides those mentors, I've been in internships and everything. Even when I did law clinic, I would volunteer, to do extra hours and go to court, work on cases with the legal associates at the Verts Law Clinic, So I've always been that person that wants to learn behind the curtain. I don't just want to see what is being presented. I want to go behind and also
dive
learn a bit more. Yeah. So at this point where I'm believing that maybe I could do something, and then I decided maybe let me start. And now I start researching. I can't give legal advice until I'm an attorney, but what can I do? So I start researching around legal consultancy and everything, how it works and what the limitations are, because I think I should mention it's very important if someone is going to go into what I've done to understand that you are giving legal guidance more than you're giving legal opinion or legal advice, because that can only be done by an attorney, So in everything that you communicate with your clients, with anyone else, you should always mention that this does not constitute legal advice, because if you do that, then you could get into trouble with the law as well. It's like giving official financial advice.
I was about to say, on this channel, we don't give financial advice on this channel. We give financial education and financial knowledge and information, not advice. So it's very similar.
Yeah. So I make use. I then think I could start this. Then I started with one client. And this client, I inform them before we have the consultation, this is where I'm at, so that we're clear, just in case she becomes a long-term client, of which she has, just a client today. This is where I'm at, and this is what I can do, and this is what I cannot do for you. I cannot represent you in court, I cannot give you legal advice, but I can guide you through compliance, processes, things that are available to you and everything. And that's how I start.
Or even give you knowledge on when you would need a lawyer before you actually have to pay the fees and all of those things.
So we start with one contract. We work on it together, and I leverage off the knowledge of my mentors and my previous employers where I was doing internships and stuff like that. I always ask questions, and I think that's one thing that's very important. Make sure that you have the right kind of people around you. I know everyone nowadays talks about the circle and everything like that, but they talk about the circle in terms of friends, I think about the circle in terms of knowledge, even deeper than just the squad or just friends, but knowledge, what does my circle look like in terms of knowledge? I know Andiswa has financial knowledge. I know Bonise has legal knowledge. I know so and so has this kind of knowledge, tech knowledge or whatever. For me, that's the circle, because then it makes sense if I'm going to go into something like that in future, then I know who to look to, right? And I think the scariest place to be, where a lot of young people that find themselves in a very unconventional way of making money and all that, is not having the right squad, the right circle, the right
so important,
minds, or the right people around you, because then you get stuck. If you start a business like I did, and you get a contract whereby this business person is into tech law, and you have no one to turn to, you will definitely lose that contract, and you won't have anyone to refer them to. You might refer them to a random person, but it might not work out. So I was at a point whereby I felt like I could start, and I started one contract to another. Up to today, I've never been at a point whereby I don't have work to do.
So simply put, for someone who's sitting there thinking, what do you do to the contract? So what's the actual job? Are you helping someone understand the terms and conditions and everything. So it's like almost like you helping them read the contract and
so
and understand the terminology.
So I do everything from what you've just mentioned around reviewing the contracts. What exactly is the language, what is it saying, because legal language, legal knowledge is not simple sometimes,
just like financial knowledge.
It's not simple. It is in English, definitely. Reading English.
Sometimes I think law is Italian, but okay. It looks like
there's definitely Italian terms. I mean, there's a lot of those, but in a contract, it's always advisable to make it as simple as possible so that anyone can understand it. But legal understanding of the implications of what that sentence you're reading means, that's something different altogether. So I've used the knowledge that I've gained from my mentors, from my internships and everything, to bring about an understanding, an opinion or an interpretation of what it would say. So that's what I do. And also on the other side, the drafting part, I sit down quite a lot with people that are setting up their businesses and help them understand the founding documents that they need and why they need those founding documents, how they should go about it. And at a point whereby they need to consult an attorney or they need to consult an accountant, I hand it over, So that's the part where I come in. It's just more or less working with directors so that they're very clear, on what their limitations are, what is expected of them, and everything along those lines.
Cool. And then so now let's talk about the business, right? It's such an interesting story. And I think that in these times with the unemployment being so high and lack of opportunities, it's so important for us to think outside of the box.
Definitely.
Because I mean, leaving your future and your earning capacity and everything to an opportunity that you don't even know you're going to get is quite risky.
It is.
Especially with the unemployment being so such a major issue. And I like the fact that and I think one of the biggest takeaways for me, although there's many, I feel like we're diving into a lot of topics here, but important topics to speak about, is the fact that you didn't sit down. Like, not once did I hear Grace say, you know what, I just locked myself in my room for 3 months and I was like, God, I don't know what you're doing, but I won't be a part of it because I don't understand it. And from trying to start up the foundation, which I think, do you think that gave you passion and that gave you fuel? Because it seems like your activities then after that were like one after the other, and you're quite active. So did that initiative help you in your confidence and being able to reach out to the other opportunities that followed?
I think probably I am telling half my story, because during varsity I mentioned that I was not the cream of the crop in terms of my marks, and it's not because I don't understand law or anything like that, but it was because I started exploring my passions whilst I was still studying. So I had been part of organizations. That's why the different connections and all directions.
So much makes sense now.
So I'd been part of different organizations. I've volunteered extensively, traveled, and all that through volunteering. I've met all kinds of people, really, and I've been in environments whereby I had to pitch to corporate, for them to partner with us for certain things. And I was still in varsity at the time, had no business or anything like that. So exploring those different things, I think that's where the confidence came from. The confidence to believe that, I had something to give, I had something to share with the world, I had something, within that I had to discover. So when I then went into the organization, this was now me saying, I have given into other people's visions. I have extensively worked to make them a success. Now, what is my vision? What is my passion? And funny, you mentioned that you didn't hear me say I locked myself somewhere for 3 months.
Because life gets tiring, guys. Life gets tiring.
Yeah. Um, I guess in that it's very important to mention that, as much as I've had a lot of highs, there's been a lot of lows.
Yeah.
And these lows come from, and I don't mean law, but like law. These lows come from not understanding where I'm supposed to go and everything. And that's a mistake that, we all make. We kind of get to this point whereby we have a picture, an Instagram picture,
not an
YouTube
Insta
picture
picture
of what the future should look like.
Yeah.
We look at amazing people that I truly love, like Level Lion, DIDN, and you think, I should probably do something like that. I should probably do something like what andiswa is doing. I should do something like what Grace is doing, right? That's all great and everything, but what are you supposed to be doing, And if you don't go about it that way, you'll definitely lock yourself in your room for 3 months and wonder, why is my life not picking up? It's not picking up because you haven't found your sense, your passion, like who you are. So until you discover that, then everything else is just here and there, that it'll never be quite satisfactory in a way. Yeah.
And it's quite a challenging thing that to want to become someone else, because you never will be.
No, you can't.
So I read something on LinkedIn the other day. You should be on LinkedIn. If you're not, after this conversation, you definitely know that you need to be on LinkedIn. Yeah. But I read something that someone posted, and he said that sometimes, I'm really paraphrasing here because it was like quite a few lines, so I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said that sometimes we think that we get disappointed at not getting what we want, not because it's disappointing, but because we've painted so clearly what we think we want, that anything slightly different from your goal or your vision is now not good enough. And even if like God brings something better, you don't recognize it because it's not what you had. You wanted to be Grace. Yeah. You wanted to look like Grace, you wanted to sound like Grace, you wanted to do what Grace does. And then God says, but there's actually better. You could be Kim. And you're like, no, I'm actually disappointing because I'm not Grace. I'm not Grace. So I think it's an important thing that to just find your thing, like find your thing. What is, and the great thing about that is I know that whole being yourself is your superpower thing, and we all think it's cliche, but guys, it's true. It's true. Nobody can be you. Like, that's the one thing for sure, is that nobody can be identical to who you are. So inspiring, like such an inspiring story. I want to now dive into the business, right? You non-conventionally find yourself into this position where you're now a businesswoman. What are some of the things that you were really surprised by when you started your business? Because I ask because I know there's lots of professionals who are like, I want to start my own business. I don't want to be in corporate anymore. I want to do my own thing. And doing your own thing sounds so cool, and all of those things. But what are some of the things that, even with the faith you had and the belief that you could do, but you were like, this one, I was not ready. I was not ready for this.
There's a lot.
There's a lot, right?
There's a lot to unpack around that, but I'll just like kind of make it make sense.
Okay.
So, wow. I guess like the first thing that happened to me that had never happened to me was when I got this huge contract. I don't mean like a legal agreement, but I mean like work to do. This huge job or contract, whatever.
Or tender, whatever you want to call it.
Waiting for tenders, if you're out there, please. So I got this huge contract to do, and I just felt like, I don't think I can do this, Not that I didn't have the knowledge or the skills or the network, to leverage from, or to anyone to pass it on to. But I just felt a certain level of fear, like, can I really do this? Can I really pull this off and everything like that? But then I realized that, it's the fear was coming from a place of feeling like maybe I'm not good enough, to execute at this level. I'm not good enough to do this kind of work. Like, this is the same kind of work that a law firm that has been in business for 15 years would be getting,
You had pitched for it though, right?
Yeah,
so you had pitched for it, and you had prepared, and you had convinced these people who are giving you the contract that you could execute. But when it came to you executing, you're like, ugh, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, so I had a moment where I was like, what am I doing? Like, so what am I supposed to do? Like, I had already pitched. I knew exactly what the flow of the work should be.
Of course, that's why you got the contract.
I knew how many people I needed to get involved and everything like that. So when that kicked in, I think I realized that it was from a place of kind of feeling like you're not good enough for certain things. You know, you're not good enough for certain amounts of money, okay? Or you're not good enough for, I don't know, like to be trusted with something like that. And then I started like unpacking it, like, so why exactly do I feel this way? What can I do about it? Can I change it? Is there knowledge that I don't have that I need to research on and everything? And all those questions came back clear, like there's nothing absolutely wrong, but it was just an understanding that, you know, you too are capable. You too can do this. But there are points in time whereby that me too being capable has kind of thrown me under the bus, you know. And talking about instances whereby I overpromise but underdeliver, where you feel like, you know, I can do this. You asked a question about people that are in corporate and they feel like, yo, I signed this client and this client is worth it's bringing in what 15 million or something. This could be coming into my account. But the reality, if there's anything I've learned from numerous programs that I've been part of, is that you are not your business. You are, when you start out, you represent your business, but you are not your business. That 15 million that's coming into the business is coming into the business,
not into you.
Not into you, right? So the business will always become a millionaire before you become a millionaire, you know. So those that are in corporate and feel like, you know, I can jump, I can jump through all kinds of mountains, I can do whatever it is that I can do. I believe in you. I really do.
Look at them. I believe in you.
I really do believe in you. I believe in your capabilities and everything. But you have to recognize the fact that you are working under a vision, and that vision is functional, and that vision is the one that's causing you to bring about that 15 million.
Sure.
Every environment has systems. Momentum has systems. Whatever place, whatever environment you find yourself in has systems, and those systems are the ones that enable you to be able to make 15 million for that company, right? If that company did not work on its PR, it did not work on delivering to its clients, it would never get a contract that big. So you are literally standing behind a name, right?
A strong name that has been there for years, that has been building for years. Yeah.
So you're not the giant yet. The name is the giant, and the name enables you to be able to close such deals. So my point going there is that especially with service businesses and even maybe with products businesses as well, work on delivering, right? But delivering towards building your name, right? So people don't come to me because they have seen me market my services somewhere. I've never marketed to this day since I started. But I still get clients every month. And how do I get those clients? It's because someone says, Grace did this for me and she did it well. Or Grace did this for me and she didn't do it well, then they don't come, which is sad.
Yeah, that is sad.
Yeah. But
why haven't you marketed for more clients?
I haven't, not that there's anything wrong with marketing or anything, but I've understood the type of business that I'm in. It's a service based kind of business. The marketing I do for this kind of business would be to make sure that my branding is done properly and everything. But the best kind of marketing is just delivering on your promises, delivering on your service. And that's what builds the name. And when you have the name, then you qualify for the promotion. You qualify for the bigger clients and everything, because when your name spreads, when your name is mentioned in rooms where they feel like they should use, I don't want to hate on any law firm, they should use Weber Wenzel, for example. And someone says, no, but I have a small business, and then Grace did this for me. She's just a consultant, though she can do up to here. I think we should ask Weber Wenzel to work with her in this because I know she can execute, you know. So it's literally in building your name. So if you're in corporate and you feel like you can do great things, my question to you then is, how have you built your name? You know, when you deliver service through your boss to your clients, do they know who you are, or do they see momentum? Do they see the brand? You know, even if you are representing the brand, there's a little extra that you do, you know, that makes you stand out. Yeah. So I
think that knowledge about the fact that there's a lot in the back end is very important. So there's a lot of systems, like you said, there's a lot of brand strength, there's a lot of credibility, there's a lot of PR and all of these things in the background that actually work in your favor to bring you there. We can go on and on. There's a lot to unpack, but I want to definitely towards the end, where do you find yourself now? What are you up to now? Because I think why I wanted to have this conversation, and thank you for agreeing to have the conversation, is because I just I want us to just think out of the box when it comes to money. Think out of the box when it comes to life, when it comes to career, when it comes to opportunities, and not find ourselves slaves to this trajectory. And if you don't make it and you don't get 75%, then it's over. Or if you don't, if you have a challenge and you don't get to graduate, then your life is over. Or I want us to hear stories like this one that are inspiring, to say, and for you watching out there who got retrenched or is unemployed or can't find your opportunity, you can now ask yourself, and I'm going to steal this phrase, what do I have? I think is so important. What do you have? Everyone has something. You have to have something, and that's exactly what you did to build forward. So where do you, after this now, which is many a years later, where do you find yourself now?
Interesting. So currently I find myself at a point whereby I'm very confident in terms of what my business can deliver, right? I find myself having an organization that, by the grace of God, were recognized in the main and DIDN 200 Young South Africans thing because of the work that we do, right? I find myself at a point whereby I am comfortable enough to get back into the line of building the legal career, and everything that I've experienced, everything that I have ventured into is now building up towards rebuilding that legal career. So I guess, like you mentioned something around the ideal plan, like the ideal, I'm going to go from primary school, high school, varsity, graduate, work. Funny enough, this friend of mine that I went to Judge Victor with, we always had a plan, like
Miranda.
We planned that we would finish and work for one of the top five law firms, and particularly what's this law firm that I've forgotten now? It's the one that has the red. I forgot the name now, but I'll remember. Particularly that law firm, and we're going to work in Sandton, on Alice Lane, get our first cars maybe 2 months into the job.
The whole attire with the bags, the heels.
The heels. Understanding that, as people say, that, when you work for the big five law firms, you end up just making coffee and coffees. But
you still look cute. You still look cute, and you're still on Alice Lane.
You're still on Alice Lane and everything. So now, weirdly, right, I recently, like I mentioned, that I'm back on track with the legal side of things, and I've gone back to school and finalizing my degree this year and moving ahead with my career.
So you sorted out the whole travel thing that stopped you from graduating in the first years?
Okay. Everything is sorted. And weirdly, a couple of weeks ago, I got an opportunity working for this law firm, and it's beyond my expectations, right? Wow. It's positioning me way ahead of some of the people that managed to finish properly and everything like that. So at this point in time, at a point where it's all making sense in a way, right? It's all making sense in the sense that the experience I've had running my business, of which I'll continue to do, working for this law firm, which is in Santon, by the way, and I drive to work with Miranda. So it's funny.
Oh wow, what a full circle.
Yeah. And she's also working there. And we're reflecting the other day and we're like, so the conventional plan didn't pan out exactly how we thought it would.
Yeah.
And the unconventional plan is panning out exactly how God intended it to be, you know. And for me, the big thing is always positioning. You know, it's not the outlook that matters. It's not just having a nice house that matters, but is that house a home? You know?
Yeah. Does it feel like a home?
Does it feel like a home? Like what's on the inside? Great job and everything. Are you learning anything? Are you growing as a person and all that? So that you don't lose track of your vision. Because when you lose track of your vision, that's why some people in corporate tend to drugs and all these other things, because they're pushing, but then they don't know why they're doing it. You know, they don't have that zeal that they had before, because the money is great, but like, what else? You know, so
what else do you have?
What else do you have?
So, told you I'm stealing that phrase.
Yeah, definitely. So if there's anything I can say, it's at this point in time, I'm at a place where I'm very much grateful for the opportunities that I've had, but I also recognize that it's not just prayer that helped. It is getting out there, taking initiative, taking specifically responsibility for my life, and not to say this circumstance has caused me to be here, therefore I'm here, so I can't do anything. I'm just gonna rest it out. Life is happy. Life doesn't happen to you. Life doesn't happen to you.
Tough luck. Oh well, I tried. Type of thing.
There's nothing like that. You have to always get up. Like if you have failed at anything, if you have failed at performing correctly at your job, let's say you're in corporate and you've lost your job now, you failed to do what you needed to do, don't just start a business, but go back and dig deep within and say, you know, what did I do wrong? Take responsibility and fix that. You know, maybe it's a mindset, maybe it's a habit, maybe it's performing poorly or whatever else. Maybe it's the people that are around you, you know, that are not doing what they're supposed to do. Always go back and fix it and you'll be fine. Like be patient with yourself, be patient with the time of your life, and by that I mean things don't happen the same for everyone. Some people get married at 30, some people get married at 21.
Yeah.
Some people get their big job that helps them with everything at 23, some people at 44, you know. So wherever it is that you are, unemployed, employed, making money, not making money, go back to the root, because only you can figure it out. You know? You could sell tomatoes and still make your first million selling tomatoes, but if you haven't figured out, you know, why am I doing this? How am I doing it? How can I make it better? How can I deliver better? You'll never make it through unless you go back to self. Everything comes back to self, and to understand self better, you need to go back to the manufacturer of self, which is God, and get your rooting there. Once you get your rooting, don't sleep, because I know many young Christians, they pray, they get the answer, they understand, but they don't act on it. You know? They don't go out there and do great things and shine and be a light and be an inspiration to other people. And if there's anything you can say in closing, it is that. What do you have? And how are you offering it out to the world? Because that's what will make you your money, and that's what will make you the person that people recognize you to be, you know.
And I think things like that are so important in sustaining yourself, because you mentioned something very important there, that and I think that's why I've let this conversation run wild. This is not where I was going, and I had a lot of questions about business particularly, but we can, Grace is a friend of the channel, so we can always have her back to dive into more specifics.
I
but
apologize.
no, it's fine. I think it's so important though, because there's so many things that are there in theory. There's so many things that you can Google and you can learn, but I think often we find ourselves, like you said, not knowing what's wrong, because the money is there, that's there, and it looks abundance is there, but there's something missing. And I think it's that purpose, like you said, and that rooting that is something sometimes a miss or a bit shaky, that you find that you're not like completely anchoring onto anything, and therefore you're frustrated and you're not happy regardless. And guys, I will always go back to saying that I am still yet to find a person, linking this back to money, I'm still yet to find a person who made a great success of a business without passion. I'm still yet to find a multi-billionaire with a business who doesn't have drive, who didn't say, you know, in my early days, I used to look at old computers, and there's always that drive that comes initially. If you look at your biggest billionaires, like car manufacturers, whether it's people in IT, people in finance, whoever is making it, there is that zeal conversation that we're having now that is very, very important. And I think, again, in the midst of abundance or even in lack, that's some of the stuff that will actually sustain you and keep you going. Thank you so much, Grace, for coming. I really appreciate this conversation, and I hope that you guys took a lot out of it. I definitely did. I'm a big purpose fanatic. I think there is great joy in being able to do what you enjoy on a daily basis. I think there's even greater joy when you can sustain yourself through enjoying what you do. And that's what we want to do, right, guys? In case you didn't know, that's literally what financial freedom is. Financial freedom is being able to do what you love and sustain yourself through doing it. It's waking up every day and not being forced into a corner doing something you don't enjoy. And I think that's what we all aspire to do, to actually wake up every day and love what we do. I really hope that you enjoyed this chat, and I really hope that it gives you a sense of, you know what, maybe my life is not so bad, or maybe this detour is going to give me a greater sense of purpose. I love the way the full circle came around, and you guys are now in Santon at a law firm, and it's all come together quite well, because things do work well in the end, right? For those who believe.